Hello and welcome to Top Story. 3 years to the day since the assassination of Lebanese Prime Minister Hariri, the unanswered questions concerning his death continue to trouble not just Lebanon, but most of the Middle East. Beirut's Valentine's Day massacre, 22 people died in the car bombing along with Hariri, has plunged Lebanon into confusion and insecurity. Most Lebanese hold Damascus responsible and are convinced that Syria and its allies in Lebanon, the Shia-based Hezbollah and Amal, are determined to prevent the UN-sponsored international tribunal charged with investigating the murder from discovering the truth. Syria denies any responsibility, but Lebanon's ruling coalition says Damascus is using the issue to keep the country divided and pursue its geostrategic goals. The ruling Christian-Sunni Druze alliance, the same coalition whose anger compelled Syria to withdraw from Lebanon after the attack, is to mark the anniversary of Hariri's death with a rally in Beirut today. Well, joining us now to discuss Lebanon 3 years after the assassination of Hariri is Elias Masbounji, who's a correspondent with the French-language Lebanese newspaper L'Orient Le Jour. Thanks very much for being on Top Story.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. 3 years since the death of Hariri and still no trial, let alone a verdict. What's going on?
It's too early to talk about verdict because the investigation is long and difficult. Most of the crime scene was completely devastated, not by the explosion, but by the responsibles of the security who moved cars, and it was a very difficult start. And of course, such a sophisticated crime is not made by amateurs. It is highly professional. Material used was very sophisticated, and two consecutive judges has been working on the investigation, and the tribunal itself was not formed until a few weeks when the place was chosen. There was long negotiation with the United Nations. Latest news yesterday given by Lebanese Minister of Justice, who is now in Paris participating in a conference of ministers of justice of the Francophone countries, announced that the trial will start in June, somewhere near the Hague.
When it does get going, this will be no ordinary trial, will it? No. What makes it so important for Lebanon and for the Middle East?
Important because it's a Lebanese international tribunal. They call it Lebanese tribunal with an international character, which is very difficult actually to. It's a new kind of. The judges are Lebanese and foreign. Their names have not been announced. They have been selected, but the names for the secrecy that we understand, they were not announced. So the trial will start in June, and the period is 3 years that can be renewed by the Secretary General of the United Nations.
A lot hinges on it as well, though, doesn't it? If the trial, for instance, finds that Syria was implicated in the murder, the consequences for the region could be enormous.
It could be enormous. This is why Syria and Syria's allies in Lebanon are doing everything to. Of course, officially they said they have agreed. In fact, they have not agreed because the Lebanese parliament didn't meet to give its agreement. It was this tribunal was formed under the Article 7 of United Nations chart. So they are first of all, they are not making easy the election of the new president, and this is the opposition thinks that by putting obstacles in front of election of a new president, a new government, it can delay the start and the work of the tribunal, with other reasons, of course. They have demands on the number of seats in the new government. They want a new electoral law, etc., etc.
Now, just 2 days before the third anniversary of Rafik Hariri's assassination, we have the assassination of Hezbollah's intelligence chief, Imad Mughniyeh, in Damascus. Is that entirely coincidental, do you think?
I don't think it's coincidental. It's the beginning of a new form of action against terrorism. Hezbollah could not be defeated by the Israeli army, and there is no way that a Lebanese group, even a large group, can fight Hezbollah and disarm Hezbollah by force. The Lebanese army will not definitely do this job because it includes soldiers from all communities of Lebanon. It is impossible. So apparently it's a new step in the war against terrorism, a sort of hit list, and it starts with Imad Mughniyeh, who was one of the first coordinator of foreign abductions before even the Hezbollah existed.
Very briefly, because we're beginning to run out of time, there's going to be a huge demonstration in Beirut today to mark the third anniversary of Rafik Hariri's death. There's going to be a big demonstration too for the funeral of Mughniyeh. Is there a danger today of serious clashes in Beirut?
Yes, it's not only dangerous, it's very risky. Any incident can cause a big problem. This is why the Lebanese army, under the command of General Michel Sleiman, who has now experience in this sort of measures, and helped by the internal security forces, have taken measures to avoid meeting of convoys of those who are going to the funeral and those who are going to the rally. They will not use the same street, and the measures are so strict that to reduce to the minimum any clash or even meeting of convoys going into these two places. I'm going to have to
interrupt you there, I'm afraid. That's all we have time for today. Thanks to our guest, Elias Masbounji of L'Orient Le Jour. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of Top Story. Goodbye.